Hey everyone, here it is. Just got this through the mail today. This is the BTT Pad 7. This is basically a tablet for your 3D printer. It doesn't have a battery. It's just a touchscreen with a computer built in. And I'm really excited about this one because I managed to snap this one up for about $99. Which I think is a pretty good price, but I don't think that this is the permanent price for it. I think it's a bit more expensive. These ones were an early launch offer, I believe. So typical unboxing, we'll have a look at the box itself, the labels, nothing much here, just the Big Tree Tech logo, Big Tree Tech logo again. Not much in the way of anything else on the box really. Okay, so on this side we've got some details about this having a 7-inch display, IPS touchscreen, and it's got a bunch of interfaces which we'll have a look in a little bit. Right, so let's open this up, and if gravity does its job, there you go. Out of the box, what do we have? Seems to be a manual here. Doesn't look extremely detailed. Probably a good getting started guide. I'm one of those people that never really reads the manual. This is short enough. I might give it a shot, but hey, they've got some overview details here, so we can see that it's got a light sensor. I'm not entirely sure how much that's going to be useful for a 3D printer. USB OTG, interesting. Headphone jack, I don't think I'm going to be using that. Volume buttons either. For a 3D printer, not too sure how useful that's going to be. RGB status light, okay, maybe. And at the back, let's see, we've got a power in 12 volts, 2 amps. 12 volts. Now, I'm not too happy about that because most of my printers, well, all of my printers run on 24 volts. So it means that I'd need to have like a different power supply for this. And ideally, this is the kind of unit I'd want to be, fully integrated into my printers. So having to run another buck converter to provide the 12 volts power, not ideal if you ask me about that. It's got 2 USB 2.0 ports. Yeah, that's great, if you want to connect your webcam or camera and other accessories, that kind of stuff. Interestingly, it's got a CAN interface. Now, usually for the data interface of the controller area network, which is what CAN stands for, you only need two wires, and it's the CAN high and the CAN low, and this seems to be a 2-pin interface anyways. And you've got SPI, that could be useful for connecting stuff like an external accelerometer. I don't know how useful these things are going to be. We'll get into that later. But yeah, that's a good overview of these things. The one thing I really wish this unit had would have been a power over USB-C. On USB-C, you can deliver, upwards of 100 watts of power if you have USB-C power delivery implementation. That would have been really cool because you can also at the same time use that USB-C port for data. So I could connect the screen to an external USB hub and hide the wiring and that kind of stuff away inside of the guts of the printer, and that would handle data and peripheral connections like connecting to your Big Tree Tech Octopus board, and at the same time also provide a power source through that USB-C. So basically what I'd like to see at some point is just one wire running from the back of this unit, and that would do data and power as well. So that's just one of the things I really want to mention about this before moving forward. Right, so what else do we have here? Some stickers. Yeah, cool. All right, so we've got a clipper sticker. That's interesting because Apparently, Big Tree Tech are working in close collaboration with Clipper just to make sure that their hardware is supported by the software, which is Clipper, essentially. And what else do we have in here? The unit itself. Let's take that out really quickly. Ooh. Okay. Interesting. It's quite thick, actually. I wasn't expecting it to be that thick. I mean, that's pretty thick. Oh, interesting. So you've got the heatsink here, and I presume this looks like where you would put that CM4 interface. In this case, this unit doesn't have a Raspberry Pi CM4. It has the alternative, which is the Big Tree Tech CB1, which is based on the H616, I believe, chipset. And I've shown there all the ports. It still messes me up, this input voltage, because I had seen pre-release images where they mentioned that this was going to be a wide input range, but they specify 12 volts here. I don't know, maybe unofficially can support different types of voltages. Maybe the power brick that the power supply that they provided in there is just a standard 12 volt one. Well, we'll see. Let me know if you want me to check that out. I can run some tests and see whether it'll support anything else. But yeah, the boards, these are the ports that we already talked about. Ethernet, CAN bus, SPI, USB, and power. Not much else. Buttons here. This, I believe, is the volume and headphones. Power. Ooh, it's got a micro SD slot, although to be fair, don't really use it that much because, you know, I would just transfer my printer files directly onto Clipper through the network, and mine's wireless. USB-C, USB port. I'm really curious to see whether this can actually support data. That'd be really cool. Data and power. There you go. That's the unit. Right, so putting this aside, let's see what else is included in this box. Yeah. Let's see. Probably a power supply in there somewhere. Yep. Power supply. This looks to be, yes, 12 volts, 2 amps. Yeah, nothing too special there. Barrel plug connector. Pretty standard. What else do we have? Ooh. Accessories. Oh, nice. So the Big Tree Tech little ducky, collecting these. Oh, some wiring, very interesting. Let's see. Okay, this is getting interesting. What else? What other goodies do we have included in here? This looks like a pen drive. Or is it? Aha, this is an SD card adapter apparently. I don't know how useful that would be. I guess maybe if you're using it with something like a resin SLE printer where you have large files to transfer, maybe that could be useful, but I guess most Clipper FDM printers, well, actually you wouldn't even run Clipper with an SLA printer. I'm really curious to know what they had in mind when they were building this, or what use case they thought these things would be useful. But anyways, it's included, so won't make too much of a fuss about this. Let's put that aside. What else do we have in here? Aha, what do we have here? I have no idea what this is. These are GST connectors. 1, 2, 3, 6 wires. I have no idea what this is. Maybe it's for some kind of... This could be the SPI interface, maybe for accelerometer. Let's have a look what else is in the box. That might give a clue. Oh, there you go. We have an accelerometer included in here. Aha. So this looks to be like a removable type, which is an ADXL345. Pretty cool. So what you typically do with this is you, whenever you're doing input shaping, you're measuring the resonance in your printer, you would attach this probably to the print head, and then you would launch the input calibration, and that will read the accelerometer values and the resonance values for different frequencies of movement. Yep, pretty cool. And I'm guessing that this goes in here. Certainly looks that way. Yep, I think that's what it's for. Great. And this, I am guessing that this goes into somewhere in here. Yes, it does seem to go in here. So yay, I figured this out even without reading the manual. So there you go. Anyways, apart from that, oh, there you go. So they have included a barrel plug connector, which doesn't require any soldering. You can just cut your wires, stick them in here, and then screw them tight. So presumably they've included this so that you don't have to use the wall socket power adapter. And kindly enough, they've provided adapters for pretty much all known sockets. I believe this is a Euro one, that's the UK one, and these ones are probably the Americas. What else? We've got some screws in here. Not entirely sure what that's for, but we'll probably find out. But this is really cool. This is quite interesting. If this unit does take wide voltage inputs, like if I could feed it 24 volts and it would work, this would be really useful. It means that I could just power this from my existing power supply in my printers, running at 24 volts. I also have a 48 and up to 56 volt power supplies for my high-speed motors. So if this unit can take high voltage, wide voltage input, that'd be fantastic. Anyways, that's it for the unboxing. I don't believe there's anything else in the box. Nope, that's about it. Cool. All right, in the recycling this goes, and let's take a look at the unit. All right, so something else worth mentioning is that this seems to have a kickstand, which is going to be useful for this. Okay. Let's do a peel. That's satisfying. All right. Now I'm really curious about this unit. I just want to power it on and see what it does out of the box. Hopefully it's already got some Clipper software installed, mainsail, probably Clipper screen. Let's have a look. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is need to fit this in here. I'm guessing this is a twist mechanism. Let's have a look. Yep, very satisfying click there. I'm just gonna put that in the power socket. There you go. And this is the first time I'm actually powering on this device, so let's see what it does out of the box. All right, power in. And I believe there's a power switch somewhere in here. Let's just put that here. Power switch on top. Yay. Great. Right, okay, so we've got RGB LED status, I guess. Okay, so both LED lights have gone blue. Don't know what that means. It's doing something. Hey, great. So we've got Clipper screen installed, which is pretty cool. All right, and the boot time was quite impressive actually. It was just a few seconds there. I currently have a fairly similar implementation on my printer, on my current printer, and that boot time is much longer, and that uses a I think it's a Pi 3A as the computer, and I'll just show you a little comparison. Just give me a second. Okay, so I'm just going to power all of these on at the same time, and you can judge for yourself how fast they really are. So let's give it a go. Right, so they all seem to be coming up. It's strange that the Pad 5 took a little bit more time to actually display anything, but it's doing its job. Okay, that's very interesting. I would have expected the Pad 5 to be quicker, given that it's running a CM4. Oh, and the winner is the Pad 7. Who would have thought? That's pretty impressive if you ask me. Okay, in second place we have the CM4. And the Pi 3A is understandably and to be expected the last one to fully boot. There you go, Clipper started. Let's just wait for Clipper screen. There you go. Well, not surprising, the Pi 3A Plus is the slowest in the lineup. So the surprising thing is that I would have expected the Pad 5 with the CM4 to have booted quicker, but it doesn't seem to. This is going to be an interesting comparison. After putting in my password for my wireless network called Infectious here, you can see that it's successfully connected. So there is Wi-Fi and it works, or apparently it works. The other interesting thing to note is that there is a CAN 0 interface detected. So this is a network interface, and this is the network interface for the controller area network. It's the kind of stuff that you usually find in the automotive industry, the OBD devices. They use a controller area network, so it's the same protocol, but this one's used for 3D printers. And this is what you see at the back, which is the port called CAN. So this is just a 2-pin connector, and you have low and high, and you would typically connect other devices to this. And typically in 3D printers, the devices that will primarily be used for this is the EBB 36 boards from Big Tree Tech, or actually pretty much any other tool board uses the same network interface for communication. So it's interesting to see that these things work out of the box. I mean, you would expect it, but things don't always work out of the box. So it's nice to see that this does. So a quick look at system information. This is the first time I'm doing this. So, okay, so we can see that it wasn't able to check for updates, which is fine. We should be able to do a check for these updates right now because we're connected to the network. So if I just do a refresh here, it still says that it's invalid. I wonder. Let's try individually to see if it can update Clipper screen. Oh, that restarted it. That I did not expect. I wonder what's going on here. Let's try that again. So we go into the menu, system, and let's do a full refresh. No, nothing. Let's try to see if we can update mainsail. Yes. No, unable to locate update. So, seems to be a problem there. I don't know what this is. I might look into it further down the line. Other than that, let's see what we have in the settings. This seems to be just a normal clipper screen settings. Oh, screen DPMS. Cool. Heat power. Yeah, I think I'd like that. So I noticed that despite saying that I connected to my wireless network earlier, the connection seems to have had issues, which is probably why it couldn't do the software updates. So I'm going to try and reconnect and see maybe if this was just a temporary issue. So I've entered my password, seems to be requesting, authorizing, and failed to connect to the requested network. I wonder what that's about. It can definitely detect the SSID, but it can't connect to it. Strange. So I'm just restarting the unit completely and see if I'll give it a last try to connect to the network interface. If that doesn't work, then yeah, I might have a second part to this video and try to figure it out. So let's do that again. Interesting. So this might have been a glitch because it's actually connected to my wireless network. It gives me an IPv4 IP address, and the device hostname seems to use the internal DNS detected as BTT Pad 7, which is great. Cool. So I know how to contact this device now from my computer. And strangely enough, I'm not seeing the CAN interface now. But I'm happy enough that this now has the wireless connection. And let's have a look. Maybe I can do some kind of update now. There you go. So it's able to contact the internet and find out if there are any software updates. So just to mention that we've got Clipper Screen installed. Obviously, that's what's running right now. Crow's Nest, that's really good for doing your kind of image capture via your webcams or built-in cameras. Clipper, obviously, that's what's running the firmware. We can see that we've got an update for it. Mainsail, it's suggesting that we update to 2.5.1. Mainsail config, I'm not entirely sure why that's a separate repository, but yeah, okay, fine, we'll look into that. Moonraker as well, so pretty much everything needs updating, and the system seems to be up to date. That's an interesting one. I wasn't expecting that, so I'm guessing this is either Ubuntu or Debian running on this. I haven't really looked into it yet, but I'll give you some updates once I find out. And we've got a time-lapse plugin as well, which is interesting because Crow's Nest also does time-lapse. Oh well, I'll give you further updates as and when I figure out what these are. And I think I'll just hit the full update now and let it update everything. So hopefully we'll have some nicer features when this is done, and we can look at a few more other things. Okay, it says a full update is completed. That took less than a couple of minutes, and I'm a little bit skeptical because I wouldn't expect that to be that fast. So let's go back into the system, and well, apparently everything seems to be up to date. Brilliant. In that case, I'll just restart the entire unit and see if there's anything else to say about the update for Clipper Screen and whether the software makes any kind of difference that's worth mentioning. All right, restart. I want to restart the host. There you go. I'm quite impressed with the boot up time for this. I wasn't expecting the CB1 to be that quick. I mean, this is the first exposure I'm having to a CB1 chip, and so far I think it's great. I'm saying this because I wasn't too impressed with the Pi 3A Plus. Obviously, it's quite an older generation chip, but for 3D printers, it's okay. But the boot up times was, you know, it can be quite annoying. So the CM4 I was quite happy with. But I've also got some Rockchip 3399 and 3588 single board computers from Radza. But I haven't had much luck with their accessories, especially the touchscreen, which when I ordered it, they sent me the wrong one. So that's really delayed the project. That one is really, really fast. I think it's in a league of its own. And I think it's also reflected in the price tag difference. So not really comparing apples to apples, but in terms of performance, if you're after performance, so for example, if you're running, you know, several 4K cameras, like, I don't know, maybe 3 cameras and maybe a nozzle cam or something like that, then you probably need a more capable processor. So in that case, that kind of higher end CPU might make sense. But for most generic 3D printer requirements, I think the CV1 is just doing great at the moment. Alright, so now that I've got a fairly good idea of what the device is, what it's running, whether it's actually running, what connectivity we have on board, I think at some point I'll have to mount this onto my 3D printer frame. And this is going to be interesting because I can't see any apparent way on the actual device to mount anything. Like, I would have expected maybe some 2020 extrusion mounts, but looking at it more closely, it would seem like these that kickstand is actually detachable, which is great, because that means that I could probably custom print a mount for this unit and just mount it to my 2020 or 3030 extrusions for the rat rig. I'm thinking I'm going to use this unit for the rat rig, so I'm probably going to make a 3030 extrusion for that. The other thing I was really curious to know is whether I can actually use this USB-C port to power the entire unit. So I've got some power delivery USB-C power supplies, so I'm gonna give that a try and maybe see how that works. So when I heard that Big Tree Tech were releasing the Pad 7, I was really excited because I really love the Pad 5. And the main reason for that is because it is one of the rare devices on the market that combines a touchscreen as well as, you know, a single board computer in a way that you can power the device using just a USB-C cable. And that's great for me because my touchscreens are mounted to the front of my printers, and having USB-C power it is great because I can just run one cable to that device and I can connect it up to a hub. And I actually use this hub from Anker, which has a power delivery pass-through port here. And what that means is I can connect a USB-C power delivery source in here, and as you can see, that lights up the USB-C hub that powers it. And what that does is it provides power not only to the hub but also to the host device through this. So that's what I have as my setup with my Pad 5, and in theory, if this is anything like the Pad 5, I should be able to just plug this in to the device and it should power it up. But nothing happens. So I guess that this is not a feature that they included in the Pad 7, unfortunately. I'm quite disappointed with that because that was the main reason why I bought the Pad 5, and that was what I was hoping with the Pad 7, but the details and specifications of this device are a bit unclear, which is also why I'm making this review. So hopefully this will help you guys out there to make the right decision on whether to buy this or not. So just to give you an example of what I was talking about, this is the Pad 5. The printer is currently not running, but there's only one USB-C cable that's required here to get the entire unit running, and that's connected to one of these hubs I have hidden in my electronics compartment, and that connects to my, sorry for the mess, my BTT Pad Octopus Pro board. I've got other devices such as webcams and an interface to actually power it through a buck converter to provide the power delivery. And that's what I was hoping with the Pad 7, but it doesn't seem to be built on the same foundations. I'm especially in two minds about this because my existing solution also has the same drawback. I mean, the Pi 3A Plus that I have in this unit, don't know if you can see that there, that needs a USB power input, and it has one USB-C cable going to a USB-C hub in the electronics compartment of my printer. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I'm still running 2 wires, but I was really hoping that this new BTT Pad 7 would enable me to just run 1 wire in the current setup depicted right now. It's not the end of the world, but the 12-volt power input means a little bit more complexity. I'll need to find a 12-volt power source or install a buck converter, and I'm just wondering whether it's worth it. Let me know what you think.